Come on, and say yeah. That is my business, you catching fever. Getting serious like empty river. Ain't no stopping by the river. And as we coming, we sweeping, we cutting, we moving all the way. Yeah. We coming, yeah. We better be coming. As we coming, we sweeping, we coming. And then when we meet obstacles, we better be coming. Now I watch you come, man, yeah. We coming. We better be coming. When the year is finished, checking you again, guys. We coming. We better be coming. We coming. We better.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to say officially welcome to today's edition of the program, The Bottom Line. And the bottom line comes your way every Tuesday and Friday here on this platform. And on the bottom line, we discuss issues about Liberia and about Liberians. And in today's edition of the program, we will be looking at the issues surrounding several issues, really, but we'll be specifically delving into the issues surrounding the case against, or the allegations against Mr. Alexander Cummings, and how the government of Liberia, which is the prosecutor in this case, has put itself on pause from the case to go and search for enough evidence in order to be able to establish a case against Mr. Cummings, though he stands accused. And so I'd like to say, be my guest. Hopefully, the other panelists will be getting here, and then we can pick up from there. But for now, my name is Linford Goer. I'll be in your company for the next few minutes, and hopefully I'll be joined by Antrick and probably Paul and the other panelists. And actually, they all are engaged. You know, like I told you the last time, this is the political season, and so people are engaged with meetings and other stuff. And no matter what it is, we will still do our best to come to you here on this platform. And please share the video. If you're just joining us, you can follow us on our Facebook page. The bottom line is double name. I don't know how you got there, but this is technology. So you can search us on the bottom line, and you're going to get us. Or you can still find us on Bottom Line Liberia. So there are two Facebook pages, one Facebook page and one Facebook group that we are streaming on live, and we also on YouTube live. And so you have several options. And I see two people have logged on the bottom line, and Bottom Line Liberia. So please share the video, invite your friends, share it on your personal page, and invite your friends to join us, just in case you want to be a part of the program. We'll also be putting our number here, the number on which you can reach us, and we can all have a fruitful discussion. Again, I said my name is Linford Goer, and I'm your host tonight until my other panelists can join me. But let's since this platform actually supports Mr. Alexander B. Cummings, we will be playing a lot of things about Mr. Cummings tonight, and some of the things that he stands for. And so let's just play a little song about Mr. Cummings. This will be doing sporadically. So let's hear this one.
on, let them say ya. Come on, let them say ya. That in my business, you catching fever. Getting serious like empty river. Ain't no stopping by the river. And as we coming, we sweeping, we cutting, we moving all the way. Yeah. We coming, yeah. We got us on a big coming. As we coming, we sweeping, we coming. And then when we meet obstacles, we got us on a big coming. Yeah, you're coming, yeah. We coming. We got us on a big coming. When the year is been checking you again, guys, we coming. We got us on a big coming. We coming. We got us on.
Okay, once again, welcome. But I told you earlier on tonight we'll be discussing several different topics. But I want us to start with the allegations against Mr. Cummings, for which he's been making some court appearances. I don't need to delve into how this allegation came about, because by now I expect that a lot of Liberians, a lot of people, a lot of Liberians, both in the diaspora and back home, have some ideas about this case. But just to step you up a little bit, Mr. Alexander Cummings leads the ANC, that is Alternative National Congress, and the ANC happens to be one of 4 political parties that came together after the 2017 elections to see how they could galvanize their efforts to be able to go against President George Weah incumbent now in 2023. And all of this came about. Sorry, I have a call. So let me just play some music, then I can take this call.
Come on, let them say ya. Come on, let them say ya. That in my business, you catching fever. Getting serious like empty river. Ain't no stopping by the river. And as we coming, we sweeping, we cutting, we moving all the way. Yeah. We coming, yeah. We got us on a big coming. As we coming, we sweeping, we coming. And then when we meet obstacles, we got us on a big coming. Yeah, you're coming, yeah. We coming. We got us on a big coming. When the year is been.
Okay, like I said, I was going to be joined by
yes, we are here today.
And so Andre just came. Let us say welcome, Andre.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be back here today.
Like me too. I was just talking about this. If I've heard many people describe a frivolous lawsuit against Mr. Alexander Cummings, and we'll be talking about how the case is already in court, as we all know, and how the prosecutor, the chief prosecutor, which is the government of the Republic of Liberia, has asked the judge in court to go and gather evidence. We'll be going into that. But I was just trying to lay a little background for probably people who do not know. But I have some marks, I guess a lot of people know. And so, like I was saying, the ANC is headed by Mr. Alexander Cummings, and the ANC is part of the CPP, which is a collaborating political parties of Liberia. And Mr. Cummings once headed this CPP. First, it started with, by matter of fact, the CPP leadership is rotational, and so from the onset, it was Mr. Bernard Yuri who actually headed the CPP from its formative stage, and then after his tenure, Mr. Alexander Cummings took over. And during the tenure of Mr. Alexander Cummings, a lot of development happened within the CPP. Just to name a few, the CPP went to elections against the ruling party, and the
Yeah.
CPP feel
We
that
won all of the seats.
okay,
Some of the seat,
and won
major seat, like
at least major seats. Like
yes.
for example, in Masuraro County, Daro Dillon, in Grand Bassel County, Nyomli Kanga, in,
Mm-hmm.
in, in other places.
Yeah.
Then also the framework document, that is the rules and regulations that the entire CPP was supposed to be is to be guided by, was also developed and presented to NEC under Mr. Cummings.
Communist leadership.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
in short, Mr. Cummings' leadership brought a lot of developments to the CPP. Then
Yeah.
fast forward, uh, his tenure was over. He
Mm-hmm.
transitioned to switch power over to Madam Nyomli Kanga Lawrence,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden, problems started to come, and so it was alleged that Mr. Cummings did alter the CPP framework during his tenure, and
Mm-hmm.
he presented the alter version to NEC. And so Mr. Benona Cummings said that was not what they all agreed to. And so this is how the case entered court. Now,
Yeah.
but
Hmm.
within that time, uh, there have been a lot of shaky, unbalanced activities within the CPP. Parties threatening to go out because Mr. Cummings allegedly, according to them, said they should start doing the old things and expect new results and whatever. And so they felt offended, and he
Yeah.
said that he's not tainted with anything like corruption and whatever. And so they
Mm.
felt offended.
Yeah.
And their offense for me tells me that they pleaded guilty. So if I say, Andre, you stole my shirt, and Andre will not stand to defend herself, and she said,
Mm-hmm.
okay, since you and I live in the house, and you say I stole your shirt, I'm going, without defending herself. In my own opinion, I think that was like admitting to the guilt. Okay, but whatever happened, Mr. Bernard Ayure announced, or his party announced that they were going to pull out. And
Yeah.
before the pull out could even happen, then they went to court, suing Mr. Cummings for forgery. That is,
Mm-hmm.
so their signature that was on the first document and attached it to the outer version and submitted it to NEC, that is the National Elections Commission. Now, the case went to court. And when the case went to court, and before the case went to court, uh, the people who know law, the legal minded people said that such case is considered uh, a case that the state should prosecute. And so we had a Solicitor General of Liberia,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Serena Sifos. He was on one very popular talk show, that is the Spoon Talk Show, and he admitted that they could prosecute the case because he was asked a question: do you see any merit in this case that you think you can prosecute
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Cummings for? And he said, yes, we have sufficient, that is what,
Evidence.
sufficient evidence. And so the case went to court, and they were supposed to present their evidence, but
Yeah.
then it didn't happen. And they said, well, the Solicitor General in the same vein, after he has announced that he has sufficient, or government of Liberia has sufficient evidence, we don't want to make it like it is his personal stuff. And so he said the government of Liberia has sufficient evidence to prosecute the case. And then they came back and said, no, please give us time to go and search for more evidence. Antrick,
Mm-hmm.
what do you know about this case? What do you think?
My dear, I have continued. I think for those who have been following our show, The Bottom Line, I have continuously said that this is a gang up conspiracy and it's a typical Liberian attitude. That is that is what our people do. It just come out now in the public for the whole country to see what actually happened down so that they can see what is really been and going on down there, how people gang up against one person just because the person has a good moral character, the person, went through and be successful through the rightful means and not being corrupt or being involved into any kind of activity that is not okay, like the likes of Benedict Ure and others in our country now, that most of them who has money, their money is linked to either being a rebel leader, a warlord, or trying to cheat people, involved into all kind of illicit act, money laundering and stuff like that. But since Mr. Cummings has been portrayed by the Liberian people that he is clean hand because he went through everything in life. He came from nowhere, educated himself, and make it to the top, not only within Liberian space, but internationally. And because of that, some of them feel intimidated by his achievement. Some of them feel intimidated by his character. And it's so laughable that the Solicitor General will come on a social media and talk about or stand up bearer in that manner, and at the end of the day even boast of having or evidence that he do not even have. Now when he is called upon in the competent court of jurisdiction to prove his evidence and to defend to defend himself and say, "Oh, okay, this is why I say against Mr. Cummings, and this is my proof," he don't have it. It's a shame on the Solicitor General, it's a shame on the government of Liberia, and also it's a shame on Benedict Ure and others who gang up against this innocent man to try to paint him dirty because they feel that he's not dirty, he got to be dirty with them. And we all
Why do
should be.
you why do you think they will gang up against Mr. Cummings, especially at this time when campaign for the coming elections should be starting, and
Mhm.
that all political leaders should be doing what they're supposed to do?
Yeah, because the handwriting is clear on the wall. They are seeing that Mr. Cummings, the people are writing to him. The people are getting the message. He is coming out there. He's talking about how he intends to make Liberia better. He's saying the truth. This man is honest. Every time you listen to Mr. Cummings, you see the honesty in his voice. You see a man that is passionate about his country, someone who has achieved a lot outside, and he feels that Liberia deserves better and Liberians deserve better, and we should all try to make Liberia a better place for ourselves. Gone are the days that our people will be suffering, whereas we have mineral resources, we have everything to give them a better life. He just said, enough is enough. It's time to go back to my country, and it's time to give back to the same country that make me who I am today, who the way I'm recognized in the international space. So they feel offended because none of them are up to him. Now you and myself, we know in terms
But
of.
again,
Mhm,
one will wonder whether the Liberian people for whom
mhm,
Mr. Cummings wants to sacrifice,
yeah.
I mean, he worked in public corporation that is well recognized. He
Mhm,
left from there as a retirement, as a retiree, and
yeah.
then he bears a very very good CV, so to speak,
Mhm,
and good record. And
yeah.
so Mr. Cummings, after retiring from Coca-Cola, would have decided, well, since I came from Coca-Cola, which is way up there, I can still make it to another top, public corporation. So let me use my retirement time from Coca-Cola to go and find another job. He didn't do it. He
Yeah.
came to Liberia to sacrifice for the Liberian people, and you still see that some of the very Liberian people are against Mr. Cummings today. What does that tell you? Do you really believe that Liberians deserve better I mean, I don't want to say, I don't want to make a
Liberians
big
deserve
statement. Some Liberians, let me say some Liberians.
Liberians deserve better. Liberians deserve better, my dear. If you see the living condition that our people are living right now, it is too sad. Those that are against Cummings are the people that have kept our country where it is today. Those are the beneficiaries of the corrupt and failed system. And we, as a good people, we don't have to sit anymore and allow these things to happen. The majority are the ones that are suffering. And the
Yeah, but
majority,
we got to make this thing interactive. I
mhm,
will really be asking you questions as if I'm interviewing. You can also ask me, but
yeah,
because I want us to explain to our listeners, I mean to our viewers. Now,
mhm,
we normally talk about the poor people, the majority of the people, the downtrodden. But if you go on social media, the same downtrodden people, they are the same people who are going for people who have caused their sufferings over the years. The same downtrodden people are the same people who abuse some good, reputable men like Cummings who had no business of coming to Liberia, waste his time,
mhm,
and they abuse him. They say all sorts of things about him. The same
mhm.
downtrodden people for whom you and I are talking, or for whom Mr. Cummings believes uh, they deserve better, are the same people who castigate him. So how do we draw the line? How do we know whether these people really deserve better or not? That's my concern.
I want to give you an example of Martin Luther King. If you someone who have listened to Martin Luther King, some of his
I have done.
speeches, yeah, the lady that nearly killed him, was it a white or a black lady?
She was a black.
Yes. So what does that tell you? That tells you that a man enemy is no one else far but his own brothers and sisters. That is why the Rastafarian singer said, save yourself from mental slavery. Mental slavery has a broad definition. There are a lot of things. Looking at someone doing you evil, but you think it is good. You think it's a normal thing. This is what our people are in. This is the kind of predicament that our people find themselves in. They are so complicit. They feel that the situation that they are in is okay, but it's not okay. We need to sensitize them. We need a new leader who can make them to know what it's like to be in a good environment, in a good country, a country with rules and regulation, a country that provide the basic necessity of the people and that provide the basic need of the people, empowerment, good health care, good electricity, good education. Education is the most important thing in any society in the world
Now,
because our people,
you mentioned something that I want us to talk about. Um, I want to relate it to one of the quotes that I remember from Dr. Martin Luther King.
yeah,
Dr. Martin Luther King said, "If you have been kept down for so
yeah,
long,
mm-hmm.
you will always, you would then believe that even if they say this is up, you say no, it's
No,
down,
it's
because
down. Yeah,
the only
that
place you
is the
know is down."
saddest thing. Yeah,
Because the only place you know is down. So
it's down.
our people in Liberia, they have been kept in a system where
Yeah,
politicians will come and lie to them. In fact, use their very resources against
notice.
them,
Yeah, yeah.
bring war on them, uh,
Mm-hmm.
you know, enslave them mentally, like you said,
Yes.
and just
And
disrespect their
and
human dignity.
make them believe that they are hero. For example, Prince
Yeah.
Johnson. Prince
Hmm.
Johnson destroyed a lot of Nibadians. He killed innocent people. People who witnessed the war, they know. Some of us were not even in Liberia. I was at the age of 3 years, my mother said. And the whole family had to walk from Liberia to Sierra Leone. And because of through that walking in the bushes, the food that, according to my mom, her explanation, the food that the children were eating, you're a child, you just eat anything in the bush.
Anything.
They said I nearly died. I am my late cousin who is dead now. peace be unto our ashes. They said we nearly died because the food we were eating in the bushes, there was no food, nothing. As a child, we just need to eat anything you see in the bush, you eat until you find yourself in neighboring Sierra Leone. And when we went Sierra Leone, all of us, our mama said our stomach was big like berry, berry. When
Yeah,
you have you lack of certain thing, your stomach gets swallowed infinite because you are not eating the rightful diet as a child. We
yeah,
nearly died. It was
malnourishment.
yes, it was a country herb that a Serolina. You know the Serolinas, they are good in African herbs. And she said the old lady saw me and said, ah, this child is not ordinary. These children are sick. And my mom said, what? What do you mean by that? I said, they are sick. You see their stomach? They are sick. If you don't treat them, these children will die. And that's how that woman prepared African hair. They said, when you see the kind of thing that come from. So these are the people. We have too many warlords in Liberia. Too many warlords in Liberia. People who destroy our people who kill 200,000 innocent lives, make mothers mothers childless, make father childless, make children motherless and fatherless. And people still see these people as heroes. They are not heroes. They are warlords. They are criminal, and they need to be prosecuted. But how can our people be removed from that mental slavery? Except we have a good leader. The number one person in the country should be good, who will
Okay,
bring these people to justice.
okay. Let's go back to the governor of Liberia. In this case, looking for evidence to
Mhm.
to establish or press
Yeah,
charges against Mr.
yeah.
Combs. Uh,
Mhm.
I wonder what why were they hasty to first of all? I know that if somebody goes to sue, that's what I'm not a lawyer. I
No,
can read.
I want to ask you, Linfa,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
if you taking me to court,
Hmm.
that means you have all of your evidence, right? And you prepare to deal with me with the law, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So how is it possible for you to take me to court and you telling the judge that you need ample time to go bring evidence against me? Didn't you have your evidence before you
yeah.
take me
But
to
probably okay. Let's put it this way.
court?
I was sleeping, and then I
Yeah.
heard a sound. I heard a sound on my window, and when
Mm-hmm.
I opened this window, the first person I saw was you,
Mm-hmm.
and that is where suspicion comes in. So I
Mm-hmm.
suspected you, okay?
Yeah.
Then I called the police. When the
Mm-hmm.
police came, and the police
Mm-hmm.
said, "Yeah, uh, Matt, did this man see you near his window? Yes or no? Okay. I insist that I saw you through the
Yeah.
window when I heard the sound. And so
Uh-huh.
the police said, okay, I cannot do anything. What I will do is I will arrest you or I will take you.
Uh-huh.
That is because that particular instance where I call the police is like I'm suing you. So the police
Yeah.
now will take you because some the police do not have power to judge. They'll say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'll carry you to the court.
Very to court. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. So then, but in that instance, I do not have sufficient evidence that you wanted
Yes.
to I don't break my window or anything. So I will
Mm-hmm.
let the law hold you, and then I can I can start to gather my evidence. But
Mm-hmm.
in this case, because in the first place, if the instance that I just cited, if it happens that way, and so
Mm-hmm.
the police will ask me, "Are you really sure that this person
Do
was the
you
one?"
have your
I
proof?
say, "Yeah." I
Yeah.
would say no, but I heard a sound, and when I opened the window, this is the person I saw.
That's
So
yeah, so yeah.
automatically, right there, you become a suspect. No case
Mm-hmm.
is against you. You are not
Yeah.
guilty. Nothing. But in this case with Mr. Cummings,
Yeah.
the Solicitor General,
Mm-hmm.
upon hearing about a lawsuit represented
Yes.
the governor of Liberia that is supposed to prosecute the case.
Him
And
out
he
with
said,
big mouth.
yeah, and he said, we got what? Sufficient evidence.
Evidence.
Uh-huh. So,
Mm-hmm.
so, so the instant that I gave you about the window is a different, quite different scenario compared
Mm-hmm.
to this case because the Solicitor General already admitted and told the world.
Admitted that he have evidence, and
Uh-huh.
in fact he didn't even stop there and say he have evidence. In
Hmm.
fact, he have the evidence, and in fact Cummings is already guilty,
Yeah,
and he's gonna go to, I think he said, 3 years imprisonment, or what he was saying that day. So some of us that were on the live that they were like, this case has not even go through the proper jurisdiction of the court, and you have already convicted this man and say he is guilty. And this is wrong because you are representing the government and you are not supposed to. And the last time on the show, I was even saying that the case even need to be thrown out because of him coming on the social media and directly accusing Mr. Cummings that Mr. Cummings is guilty and he has the proof. How on earth will he just get up now and go to the court and tell the judge that he does not have a proof and the judge should give him 5 days?
But
If it was,
I
if
think
it was,
I think
if our Mr.
if
Cummings lawyers,
no, forget about the Mr. Cummings lawyers.
mm,
If the judge really wants to be fair in this case,
yeah,
he will go back to that video from Spoon TV,
and dismiss the case
and hold Mr.
in
Solicitor General
contempt,
responsible.
in
In fact,
contempt, or
I,
in
I, but I
contempt.
think the judge himself made mistake also to allow the
He
Solicitor
didn't make
General.
mistake. These are all the same corrupt people recycling. That entire judiciary system need to be overhauled. Only few of them, the majority of them are corrupt. The few of them that are not corrupt cannot fight the majority. That is the problem of our society. It's not that we don't have good people. It's not that we don't have people with integrity within this system. We have them, but they are not many, and they cannot fight the majorities that are corrupt and fighting against them. Do you see what is happening right now? The majority of the people are fighting only one man. That is how the system is like. The entire system is flawed.
So tell me, in this particular instance, that is very clear that we all can see. Even
Yeah.
we who have never even been to court before, we don't know anything about lawsuit or whatever.
Me, I have been to court before.
Yeah, that we can see.
I have been
Do
to
you
court
think?
and I'm still
Do
in
we
court.
expect?
Mhm.
Do we expect anything fair? According to what you're saying, that the whole system is corrupt. Do we
Yeah.
expect anything fair from this case?
What can we say? At this stage, sincerely speaking, I don't see fairness because the Solicitor General had already proven us right.
No, but
Even when we started the dispute,
the solicitor general is not a judge though. He's part. I mean, he's
but the judge, you saw what happened. The judge, the day that the case were open, and then we are now went and instead this man to be in that identical court all through the court time. You saw what happened. That is to tell you that the government of Liberia is really going after Mr. Cummings and they want to deal with him. For
and so
what
so
reason,
what do you
nobody
think
knows.
what do you think Mr. Cummings can do now to
And
say,
that's
well,
what,
I don't want
and
the case to be
that
I
is
don't want
what
the case to be in this court, or I don't want the government to take, because I mean, as it stands, I mean, I don't see any way out, because the only way, I
there's
mean,
a way out.
when I
There's
mean I
a
don't see
way
way
out.
out. Yeah, I mean by through the investigation procedure, I don't see any way out, because you cannot take Mr. Cummings or the ANC cannot take this case from the court and say I want it to go elsewhere, because
No.
in any case from that court you still go to another Liberian court. So where do you think he can get fair justice?
He's not going to take the case from anywhere. This is where that we, the supporters of Mr. Cummings, come in, because the fight is not only about him alone. It's not about him. It's about the broken system that is fighting back a sincere and honest man who want to take Liberia to another
And
level.
so
And we want,
what effect can Cummings supporters make while the
wow.
case is in court?
This is why have you been monitoring the media? This is
Yeah,
why
I
the
heard
US, the
there was a
US,
protest.
the US Senate and some of our international partners have been raising the alarm, because we have been reaching out, we have been informing them, we have been telling them that this is what the WIA government is doing. They're trying to undermine the peace of our country. And you people have invested a lot in the peace building of Liberia to make sure that Liberia is peaceful. But now, by we are wish hunting one political leader within the country, an opposition political leader, it has the propensity of causing problem, of causing
I saw
chaos.
this article. I saw this article from the Washington Examiner, and
Yes.
and a lot of people read it, and people, some people believe it, some people give it credence, and people who do not love Mr. Cummings say it is fake.
It is not fake. And I want to tell those out there that it is not fake because we even called international partners. I even spoke with the delegation of the European Union in Liberia, and the
Mm.
people said that they are monitoring whatever that is happening, and they are looking at everything that is happening because the European Union is one of the major donors within Liberia. When you're talking about donor, you talk about America, and the next one is the European Union. They do a lot of things for Liberians, and they help also in the peace building process of Liberia. So these people will never sit down and allow or detective government to carry out any kind of act of abuse on a political party leader. No, that's a domestic affair, but they are also observing whatever that is happening. So if we are in his criminal gangster, if they know what is good for them, they will check break. Politics is about competition. If you don't want to compete, you don't get into politics. If you don't want to be insulted, you don't want to be called names, to be lied on, to be for a reputation to be tarnished or this, you don't get into politics because politics is a dirty game. Even us that here that advocate and talk about it, right? People say a lot of nonsense things about us. Some things that you even hear about what people talk about, you like, wow, but that is it. That is where you have gotten yourself. The moment you get yourself as a politician or an advocate, know that you have signed up for all of these things, names calling, all kinds of things and all kinds of naughty things that people will say about you, but that's politics. Politics is a dirty game and it's a competition. Either I get you out or you get me out in a competitive way, not the other way around. I talk down at you, you talk down at me, I destroy a character, you destroy my who's strong will survive. So you see now Alexander Cummings is going to fight for his character, he's going to survive it. If Benedict Yue and the others cannot prove what they are saying, then their political career will be destroyed forever. Then it's done. Because if you lie on someone and you cannot defend yourself, then it's done. So they can make it.
Okay, good analysis. Yeah, but I think we've discussed a little more about this government searching for
Yeah.
evidence in a case that they have already handled, and the Solicitor General has come out clearly
Mhm.
and admitted that they got sufficient evidence. So I don't know what other evidence they've
He
gone to go
doesn't.
find.
These people are
Okay,
liars. They don't. He
okay.
don't
So
have
let me be hypothetical. Let me
mhm.
place you in the case of the judge. What if
A
they do not
judge.
bring evidence? Yeah, let me place you in the case. What if they do not bring the evidence that they've gone to go find?
But
What
you
you
even you even went far, Lynn, for the
mm,
moment that this Solicitor General, if I was the judge of that case, maybe in the future I might be a judge of Liberia or even be some powerful lawyer that can take mess. Who knows the future? The future is always bright, it's always ahead. So if I was in that position, the moment that Solicitor General left his position and come on the social media to discuss a case as critical and important to the nation that could cause instability. You come on the social media to discuss about it in that manner and even convict the man and say that yes, he is guilty and he's a criminal and he will go to jail. My dear, the next morning you're gonna see a newspaper with your name on it that you should step aside. That is what a normal society looks like. You step aside and allow another person to take the role, a neutral person, and let the rule of law take its course. This is
Okay,
how Liberia should be.
okay. Let's divert a little bit. We've been hearing the much talk about, you know, exit from the
Mhm.
CPP of the ALP, Mr. Benona Uri's party, and
Hmm.
since
Do
according
we
to
have
them,
a party like that existing? Like
well,
seriously?
yeah, they do because they are part of the CPP, so they, I mean, definitely they do. But the question about to, or what I'm about to bring out is,
Mm-hmm.
since they announced the pull out did not officially happen. They announced it, they released a press release to that effect. It did not happen. And then while I think the CPP as an entity was waiting for the effectuation of that pull out, then the same party went to court.
Hmm.
So what if this party does not win the case against Mr. Cummings? You think they're going to come back to the CPP? I mean, we like I said, I can ask you and you can ask me. We just discussing, we just placing ourselves in the position of anybody who could be acting the role of a political leader, the judge, or whatever here.
Mm-hmm.
So
Why,
so
why would it be accepted in the first place
no
after
no
you
no
you
no no
willingly
forget no,
left
forget about them being accepted. But do you think they're going to come back? They could come back?
the food to come out? Like can't lick their face or what? Something happened to them. Lifa, you too funny. You know how to tease people indirectly.
I mean, they could just decide to say, well, no,
What
listen.
what will be what?
But,
It
but,
will be a
but
story of the year.
remember, there is a saying. There is a saying
Yeah,
that
yeah.
in politics, there is no
Mm-hmm.
permanent friend or no permanent enemy.
Enemy, yeah, yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's true. No permanent friend, no permanent enemy. Indeed,
Yeah.
of course.
And also, I want,
Right?
before you answer that question, I want you to consider that the CPP came together to move, I mean, with one big goal to move President Weah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So right
Yeah.
now, if the ALP, whether they got a lot of members or not, pull out, is a minus for the
Mm-hmm.
CPP. So if they go through the case and then the case ends and CPP does not win, or even, I mean, ALP does not win, or ALP wins, they say, well, we just wanted to prove a point that we're right, but we're going back to our mother, CPP.
Eh?
Yeah.
No, they will leave
Why,
us. No
why
space for them.
the CPP
Because
might just beat them?
Mr. Cummings is not going to accept them in anymore.
Oh, but Mr. Cummings is not a CPP, though. He's part of the CPP. He
Yeah,
doesn't
he's
win.
not a CPP, but how can you accuse me of being criminal and then you come into the same person you accuse, you even took me to court. Then you say you want no way. Oh. There's no way for you. You gone out, you out. There's no way they are coming back. But they will not even come back.
Yeah, but there are four parties.
You
So,
think you ain't, but I thought UP is gone.
no, UP
Where
is not
is
yet gone.
UP?
UP is not
UP
yet
is
gone. And
so
thank you
you
for bringing
see,
out the UP team. Thank you for
so you
bringing out the
see,
UP team.
you
Let me,
see the game that going on right now, Linford.
where?
You see how I'm sorry to say, I'm just sorry to use it. You see how stupid ALP is?
How?
You already get out. The person who you're fighting for is still inside. The person who you're fighting for is still inside. They refuse to go out. But you went, ooh, agreeing. The person who you are fighting for is still a member of that collaboration.
Yeah,
And
but
you just left.
yeah, let me come to you. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
in some areas, some political commentators are saying that
Mm.
they don't see this fight by Benona Ure against Cummings as a fight for Joseph Boakai. They see it as a fight for Weah. Because the reason why some of them say that is that
Mm-hmm.
just in the space of when this case happened,
Yeah.
uh, there are rumors that the daughter of Benona Ure will be given some government appointment job. And then,
Ambassador. I heard they said they are going to make her ambassador for France. Oh
mhm,
wow.
okay, whether that is true or not, we don't know yet. But the
But
rumors,
France, the Liberia ambassador for France is already there, so I don't know
oh no, they can
where
withdraw.
where where
They
where
can
where is
withdraw. They
they
can
are
call
going to
him.
put that person.
They can recall him, and it's not simple. The appointment position.
Does she have a diplomatic experience? Does she
No,
have
no,
education
that
in
listen, that's
diplomacy?
a different, that's a different thing. That's a different thing. It is the country to which this person will be assigned can do make all of those inquiries as to whether this person is sending to us know anything about diplomacy or stuff like that. But let's look at the developments that have been happening between the CP, I mean, or the ALP and the CDC. Just in the time where the case was started to go to court, we hearing rumors that Bernard is getting very closer to the ruling establishment. Okay,
But he
so
had been. He
yeah,
had been.
so I do not. According to some political commentators, they do not see this fight as a fight for Joseph Boakai,
Of
and
course.
the reason is that one, Bernard Najure is not even sure of Boakai taking him as his running mate because a few months back we saw that Boakai was even very close to Nyomli. He went
Yeah.
to celebrate Nyomli's birthday in Grand Basso County, and Bernard Najure was not at a party. And it baffles my mind when some United Party supporters say Cummings was ungrateful when Joseph Boakai was being petitioned by the Unity Party to be the standard bearer. Cummings did not go there; he was in America. But then this is a scene. This is Bernard Ayure, who did not even attend one of the
Yeah.
members' birthday. So I don't know, and people do not see that. They want to see what Cummings does. So,
Yeah.
so
Because their mind is already set on is the Liberian theory ganging up against one person. So even the other people doing something that is wrong, they would never see it. Everything now is on comments. It's not like they are friends or it's not
okay,
like they like one another. They don't like one another, but because they want to fight against comments, they will come together and pretend like they like one another or they are friends. And this is bad. This is how Liberians are. This is how they
That
are,
is
and we
that is
should
the
stop this.
the next question I wanted to ask you. Do you think these people, minus comics, do you think they can really hold together?
No,
They
they
love each
can't.
other.
They can't because they are all greedy politicians. You see, Beneda Yue wants to be the vice president. At the same time, Yombli Kanga wants to be the vice president. This is why they cannot make it. They came together, the sole purpose to destroy Cummings. But at the end of the day, once they destroy, they try to tarnish Cummings' reputation, they destroy him. The next thing, then you see them start to fight among themselves. They are not
Okay,
friends,
let me
and
tell
they
you a
are not.
story.
Mm.
Sorry, I will be cutting you off. You can also
Go
cut me off.
ahead,
Like I said, we gotta make a conversation. Now,
Go ahead.
during the war, you were very young. You don't remember. You were very young. So
Yeah.
let me tell you a story. I worked in it during the war as a journalist, so I was on top of things. During
Wow.
the war started as one rebel group, MPFL.
Wow.
When the war started December 1989, in Nima County, it was one rebel group. That rebel group came and fought and gained ground in Nima. Then they started pushing to Pong County. Just in that time, there was some misunderstanding. So Prince Johnson broke away and he formed the RNPFL, that is the Independent National Patriotic Front of Liberia. He broke away, he started fighting his way through, and actually he was ahead of Taylor. So it's like if he was in Kakata, then Taylor was somewhere just a few kilometers away from Kakata. When he leaves, then Taylor will come. So that's how it happened. And this is how Prince Johnson entered Monrovia before Taylor, and he settled his base in Carwell. Now, so when he entered Carwell, for between 1990 to 1991, it took 6 months for the war to actually enter Monrovia because the war started December 24, 1989, and by July 2, it was on the morning. Check your calendar. July 2, it was on the morning. I have gone to the radio station that morning to work because I didn't live far from the radio station at that time. And if you see some mark here, I got it from that place.
Wow.
Yeah, I got it from the radio station
Oh,
when the guys entered that morning. So, by 1991, we started to see splinter groups. The rest of the AFL soldiers or the crown people that ran away and went to Sierra Leone decided to organize themselves to come to fight Taylor. So we so found out that we had several warring factions in the war. We had MPFL, RNPFL, and what they used to call ULIMO. Okay? And then the ULIMO, they were made of predominantly of crown. But the crown people, according to my information from Sierra Leone, because I had good friends who were there, and they were the one that formed the ULIMO. But because at that time, the AFL was, almost disintegrated, Joe was busy with the war in Monrovia. He didn't have time to actually extend a long helping hand as far as Sierra Leone to support the guys out there with the sole intent to come and fight Taylor. So Ahachi Kroma, he was very influential man in Liberia during those times. So I think out of his mind, I don't know, but that's why I say I think out of his mind that he could govern as Madingo people to also join the Crown people to come and fight Taylor. So the reason I'm giving you this story, I may not be correct 100%, but that's some of the rumors we were hearing because I was not in Sierra Leone. But I talked to a Ulimo general in Kakata, face to face, very young boy, and this boy told me the story. And he said, after they formed this war, or this Ulimo in Sierra Leone, they decided to actually come back to fight. And even the Roosevelt Johnson was not a military man. He was not even from there when they were forming this Ulimo. But because the boys needed money, they needed support. So they noticed that there was this influential crime called Roosevelt Johnson. And according to the boy, they sent for him. They went to get him, and according to him, they met him in the night. They were crying that, hey, gentlemen, when I came in for nothing, we now run away from Liberia, you're carrying me back. They said, "Can I school? You got to be with us." That's how Roosevelt Johnson came to be general for them, commander for them. But still, they didn't have money. So Kroman went to Guinea, rally among some rich Madingo people, and they got money. So then when he came, this is how they welcomed him into the Ulimo. So quote unquote, it was the Madingo people, since they had money, they were doing everything, they were controlling the Ulimo, basically.
Senseless war for nothing.
Yeah,
Just
but basically, they didn't.
innocent people.
The Madingo people at that time, they didn't have the war, the real war fighting machinery. It was the Crown people. So, but they held together. They fought. They started to fight at the border, and they came as far as Pommy County, Pommy Hills. If you ever heard about 6 days war in Pommy County, this is how it happened. Even though they all were against Taylor, but because of power greed or something, they decided to fight among themselves. So that's why I'm saying this. I mean, and then it did not only end with Ulimo J, and then this is how Ulimo J and Ulimo K came about. Ulimo K for Ulimo Kruma and Ulimo J for Ulimo Johnson. Okay, but from the start, they were all one Ulimo group. Now, they were not the only group. Then the same Crown people, when they came, they started fighting. Then they broke apart again. Another group was formed called not model, George Bullet Group. The George Bullet Group was there. Then you had the Amayulu Group. This is April 6th happening in Monrovia. So let me come back to the reason I'm giving you all this story. All of them, all the warring faction, they had one enemy that was Charles Taylor, right? The big enemy.
Wow.
But in as much as they had one enemy among themselves,
they were also enemies.
They didn't like each other. So yeah, the scenario here is that a conglomeration like this, when people with different interests believe that they got one common enemy and they want to get rid of that one enemy, after they have done that successfully, the question is, what will happen now?
What happened?
Yeah,
they fight among themselves because everybody wants part. That's the same. But then this is why we kept saying as an ANC member, we say, is the system against us? Because this is a system, this is a culture that have existed in the country where a group of people come against one person. In the case of Taylor, is different because Taylor was a wicked man. Taylor was a man who murdered a lot of people, made some of these young children child soldiers and destroy their lives. So, he's not of good character.
No,
But in
no,
the case of, yeah,
there's no, yeah, we're not judging here whether who was, but I'm only giving you a scenario
yeah,
where
so so this
people,
is why we kept saying we
mhm.
need a government, we need a president who's gonna bring a war crimes court to bring all of these people to justice. Liberia need justice in order to move forward. There are a lot of people that are hurt within, a lot of people that their life was shattered or destroyed. You can just say to move ahead. Why they sit in the same country and see these warlords occupying higher position in the government, they and their wives, their children, they are enjoying lavishly benefiting from the blood and sweat of the innocent people that they kill and destroy their life. It's not going to work. There should be justice and accountability. And Liberians, if they want
You
better for
know,
Liberia, they should
I'm one
invest.
different, like, Andre, like I
Mm,
said, I will continue to cut you off as these conversations go ahead.
go
I am
ahead.
I am one different kind of Liberian. You know me. I'm a one different kind of Liberian. I always think the other way when
Mm-hmm,
everybody's thinking the other way. Now we've all cried for this war crimes court for the victims, okay, and they are the same victims. When you try to, that you don't want to believe it, but you know that some of the same victims of the war,
mm-hmm.
they will
Yeah,
fight against you if you talk about war crimes court. Do you know that the same victims are some of the people who are still supporting politicians who are being enjoying uh, the death of their families?
because they need to be saved from mental slavery.
How do you do
They
that?
need to be. And how do you do that? By selecting the right leader for Liberia,
No, the
the
leader
number
will not
one
go.
person.
Listen, the leader is not going to go to everybody and
The
say, "Look,
leader
this
is
is
going to do
the
it. The leader has the power. The leader has the power in the final saying. If the leader put into act that, yes, international community, we are here and I need war crimes code for Liberia, you will see how the international community will come in
I
and
agree. I
Liberian people
agree. I agree to that. I agree.
Liberian
But
people will support
I am talking
and
about
get
the victims.
behind him.
I am talking about your own citizens, your victims, the people who call victims, who do not see themselves as victims, but they back the very right
It
now.
is out of fear.
Why do
How do
you?
you expect, Linford, how do you expect these people to come out publicly and tell people that they want justice when you have people like Prince Johnson as a senior senator for Nimba
Okay, this
County,
is the point I'm
when
driving at.
you have George
Who's
Foley, and the
who
name just go on and on. You have
yeah, but
many of them. You have.
who's voting for Prince Johnson? Tell me
That's
who's
what I'm
voting for
saying. You
who?
have Joe Howard Taylor, who is a former wife of a rebel leader, Charles Taylor, as a vice president number 2 woman of the country. And she had also sat there where Liberian women and children were killed, were abused, a lot of things. You have that kind of woman in the country. How do you expect a victim to come out publicly and say, I need justice, when you
Okay,
have
but
them
then let me
all
ask you.
around you?
Let me ask you. You still not getting my question. My question here is: Joel Howard Taylor did not just walk to the vice presidency. Prince Johnson did not just walk to the Senate. Somebody voted him. Uh, so the question here is:
The people
who,
voted them out of fear. You don't know what fear can do? Fear
what
can do
about
a
the people?
lot of
Yeah,
things.
but
Fear can enslave.
what
Fear
what about the
can
people?
enslave a person.
Yeah, let me ask you, what about the people who talk openly against Prince Johnson? There are a lot of people in Monrovia, you and I, all of us, we sit on the radio, I mean, on the internet, people walking the street are drinking places and they openly condemn Prince Johnson. Why
Do
I said
you,
that certain group of
you
people
and
will
myself,
say,
we on Facebook. You
yeah, but
see
they got no,
sometimes
no, no,
what
they got
happened
people on the
to
ground. They got people
you
on the
see,
ground in Monrovia.
yeah, what I'm saying, I said
Mhm.
you and myself, we are on Facebook. We
Yeah.
see all of the happenings on the ground.
Hmm.
Most of the time, you see some of these advocates who are very critical with the
Hmm.
government and other rebel, former ex-rebel leaders in the country trying to voice them out or trying to raise an alarm on them. You see some of them At the end of the day, some of them are threatened. Some of them are threatened. Some of them, their life is in danger. Some of them have to leave Liberia and go to another African country. So it's not strange. It is something that is happening in the country. Those that are on ground, they are afraid, for they talk, but they are afraid. There's this boy who always speak about the rights of women and children. Do you know that they arrested him and put him in jail? We had to come on Facebook and start to advocate for him that they should
I,
release
I,
him.
I agree. That just few instances you are quoting. The point I'm trying to make, Andre, is that
Mhm.
the same people that you and I fight for, the same
Yeah.
people that all the advocates fight for, they are the same people who vote these people. Tell me, if everybody has sense and Prince Johnson goes to run for Senate and they gave him 0 vote, don't you think Prince Johnson
I
will get a
told him
message?
yesterday that we shouldn't get tired in sensitizing our people, educating our people, telling them this is not right. This is not a normal society. This is not it's not a normal situation you find yourself in. You are not subjected to poverty. You can subject yourself to suffering. Stand up for once and let your voice heard. Stand up and say it. No, enough is enough. We have suffered a lot. We sit down. You brought a senseless war, destroy the country, shatter the lives of every Liberian. Liberians are very proud people. Liberians were people who could not even travel to other neighboring countries. Our country was called or second America that our neighboring people used to come to. Like when other people want to go America, they come to Liberia and acquire Liberian passport. We were so proud. They just brought a senseless war because of greed, because of power. They see nepotism and favoritism and corruption they talk about. They did the worst. They destroy our entire system educationally, healthcare. They destroy everything. What can we do? We must stand up and talk and stop being coward
Okay, thank
and
you very much,
demand for
Andre.
justice.
Um, let's take a short break and then we'll come back and then we'll read some of the comments that people are making. So
We need to play the
yeah, we'll
report
get to
of
that.
the
We'll get to that.
Human Rights Watch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or just QA, just QA. Set it up
Mhm.
and then we'll
Yeah.
play the portion that you want us to play. But let's take a short break. Then when we'll come back, we'll read some of the comments. Then we'll go to the human rights report.
Okay, dear.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you are watching us, this is the program, The Bottom Line. The Bottom Line is a platform on which we discuss the issue from the top to the bottom, and we delve. We go way to the bottom. If you fall in the water and they say this man is at the bottom of the water, you are not on the top, you are not in the middle, you are at the bottom, you are on the flow of it. So we discuss the issues, we go to the bottom, and we open it up for people to understand. Now, uh, um, we have people watching us and some of them are making comments, so let's just go to our comments poll and see what are some of the comments that are there. We'll read probably the most relevant ones. um uh, Somebody, and please, the reason why we will not give you the credit, we will not call your name, is that on my dashboard I do not see your name. I actually see your comments, but it tells me that you are a Facebook user until I can log onto Facebook before I see who was commenting. So if I don't call your name, do not feel that, oh no, they didn't call my name. No, we will very much love to call your name, but we cannot see your name. It says Facebook user. So this Facebook user says, you have said it all. ABC, that is Alexander B. Cummings, is the best to move this country forward. And I guess that's the time we were discussing about good leadership. And this one says, people are part of their environment. That's all they know. We have the responsibility to liberate them or liberate their minds. I think, Andre, this is in line with what you were saying, that we have
Yeah.
to educate the people.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
can
but
stop sensitizing. This
mhm,
is what we are doing right now, talking about the failed system, talking about what our people have been through, or system of suppression where they cannot have a better education. You see, most of our leaders in high places, sorry, government position like the Minister of Justice, the Minister of State, the Minister of this. All of them, their children are sent abroad to have quality education. Why the same people who vote them into office, their children are struggling to get quality education that they cannot have because of the failed educational system. So
Okay,
it is not right.
good. I told you I'll be stopping you every time you bring something up. We'll still read the other comments, but you just said something that
Mhm.
our government officials, from president down to ministers, they sent
Yeah,
their children abroad to go and get quality education. Some of them even buy properties abroad where their family
yeah,
live. They are just
yeah,
in Liberia, they on a farm. Then they go
yeah,
for holiday and steal all the money and go for holiday and enjoy. Then they
yes.
come back again. Then our people vote for them. Now,
Mhm.
so in this case, that's why I said I'm a different person. I always look at things the other way. We see these
Mhm.
people as victims. We feel that, oh, they're suffering. But why is it that if somebody will say they're not educated? My friend, if the people are not educated, why do they know that this person is good? They will vote for them. So you slap me, you kick me.
Mental
Then
slavery.
when you go, you come back, you come back to me again and say, yeah, come, slap me again. Then
Mhm.
somebody standing when the others are feeling sorry for me when I'm used to what they're doing to me. So these
But
people are
do you know the method that they use? The method they use is that to suppress the people,
mhm,
suppress them,
mhm,
in a way that they cannot empower these people. The people cannot empower themselves. They cannot feed their family, or they cannot
mhm.
do anything for themselves. The day they're ready for them to vote for them, then they come and give them peanut, and these people vote for them. As soon as they vote for them, they turn their back. They lead them in that suppression. They come back again when they need from them. They get it. It's not going to be that way. It's not supposed to be that way, Liberian people.
So who do you believe? Why will you cry? Why will you cry more than a bereaved?
I'm crying more than them because me, I was part of that same system. I am a victim of that system, and I've
Okay,
decided not to remain quiet. Some of my other young Liberian women, they have given up. They said, "Oh, it has happened before. I'm not the first, I'm not the last, just accept it." But no, you don't have to accept it. Everybody do not have to accept it. Change can
okay,
happen at any time. It takes one person to make a
to
change.
start a
And
change.
I want to be part of that change by using my voice, calling out the system, the sick system, and say, enough is enough. You can't keep our people suppressed for a long time.
Okay,
Our
next
people need to
next
have the basic necessity.
the next comment is
Mm.
interesting. So, it says the Liberian people enjoy suffering. Mr. Cummings is doing this to better our country and future generation. Do you agree that Liberian people enjoy suffering?
I don't agree with that. And I do not accept we Liberians try to talk down on each other, because it's a situation that the people of Liberia have found themselves in, that they cannot see a way out. They kept going for people who promise them change, who they see that they come with that sweet talk, oh, I'm going to better the system of Liberia. And you see the people kept diverting towards these people, and immediately these people deceive them and let them down, they turn their back. That is to tell you that Liberians do not enjoy what they go through, but they do not have a choice. They just keep trying to see who's going to be the better person one day for them. And I
Okay,
think
then,
they
then
should they
somebody,
should try Mr. Cummings. He can be
yeah.
the best for them.
Okay, so somebody wrote here, say, like what you were saying about educating the people. And I
Yeah.
asked you, how do you do that? So the person answered, he said, you do that by educating and helping to make the people understand the benefits of the war and economic crimes court. Now listen,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But to I'll address this one.
Mm-hmm.
in our efforts, the advocates, all advocates in Liberia, people who have been
Yeah.
pushing for this, for all of these crimes against
Mm-hmm.
them, they will meet stiff resistance. You got people who will abuse you. If you say Prince
Yeah.
Johnson go to War and Economic Crime School, you have thousands of people coming on you.
His
If you say George
supporters.
Bush go, they will come on you.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the same victims. That's why I keep coming back to these things. Every time we discuss, I come back. These are the people that we are fighting for. They enjoy it. They they are like, why you cry for me? Why are you fighting for me? I am the one. You know. So how do we
I don't think the people, Linfa, I don't want you to say that the people enjoy. The people do not enjoy this thing. These people are suffering. If you go that, there's a saying, if you want to know what is happening down there, you have to live the moment. Live in the moment, you have to go down to their level and know what they go through and listen to some of them. Be among them. You can only know about what they are going through, except you sit among them, you be like one of them. Then you hear some of these conversations that come out of the mouth of these people that are down there, the masses. You will know that they do not enjoy what they are going through, but they have no choice. It's like they are looking for a savior. Like the reason why they keep saying, somebody say they keep electing wrong leaders, because these
yes.
leaders come out with deception, with lies, sweet mouth,
No, Andre.
something
Okay,
that they are
let
Messiah.
me put that particular statement up here. Now, the person says Liberians
Mhm.
enjoy suffering because they keep
Suffering because they
electing.
continue electing wrong leaders.
Okay, let me make example. Let me give one example that I will support this person. Now, you are our
Mhm.
lady. You are our lady, and all our lady viewers, including all other ladies. I respect you so much. I respect you. My mom is a woman. My daughter is a woman. My sisters are women. So I respect women. I'm not saying this to bring down any woman. But let me just cite this example. Here is a woman, a young girl. I meet this girl. I said, "Oh, girl, I like you," and she said, "Yes." I fool her with all the street talk. We get together. I not do anything good for her. I
Mhm.
pregnant her. She born baby. In fact, the moment she gets pregnant, I partner her. I move from there. I don't even see her. She struggle with this baby and born a baby. And then when the baby born, I'm not doing anything for her. Then I allow the baby to walk. Then I come back again. I say, "Oh, honey, the way I love you, and I'll do everything for you." And then she agreed. Then we together again. I still suffering. I can't even take care of her baby. Then she get pregnant again. She born. I partner her. I leave her with the baby. I partner her. Then the third time, I come back to her and she agreed. And then people around start to mock her. Who you blame? Is that a woman? Tell me.
That's why I was just trying to refer to this statement that this person is saying.
Mm,
Like when people kept electing the wrong person, it's not that they want to elect the wrong person. It's because the leaders that portray themselves with deception and lies. It's just the same thing, the scenario like Joseph Boakai. He's coming up to tell the Liberian people that he can do better, whereas his past record does not show that. This is why I support Mr. Cummings when he said, if you want to know a good leader, if you want to know what a person can do, you check their past record.
their past records.
And that also go to the present and president of Liberia, which is George Weah. George Weah was a senator, a senior senator from Maserado County. He did not do nothing for the country. When he was also in a leadership within the country again, as I don't know whether a head of LFA or something, he never did nothing for the people. We saw all of that, but still the Liberian people believe in him and thought that if he become president, because he come from the slum, he was going to change their life, he was going to make everything better because he already experienced a life from there. But it is wrong. You are seeing the man past record. There's no good record, and you still want to put him there as a president. Yes, the result, Liberia is totally down. Liberia is in a crisis, it's in a mess. All the NGOs are pulling out. There is nothing, they are just looting, and no security. Everything has gone from bad to worse. Where President Salif left the country, it has gone to zero again. So we
Okay.
should not make this mistake, librarian.
Okay, we'll come to that. Where you have the opportunity to advise librarian. But we have a very interesting comment here. Where in this world will you see,
The rich
or
man
where in
child.
this world you see a rich man child go to school with poor people? Even you're the panelists. The only thing is let them improve the living standards of our people, provide quality education, fight poverty, corruption, and just improve the society in many ways. That's what we expect from them. Get child and us will not go to the scene behind the house school. No way. Okay. And again, but okay,
Hmm.
I'll come into talk. But Andre, do you agree with this person
I don't
that
agree with
that
that.
there is nowhere in the world
I don't,
that
I don't agree with that. I do
Mhm,
not agree with that because I live in a society that have seen a lot.
mhm.
I have seen a lot. So I do not agree with that. That is a pure African mentality. When they have not gotten into government position, have not been elected as a minister or president or vice president or any kind of lucrative position within the government, you see them among the poor. Their children go to poorer school. As soon as they get into government, into government position, then they are no equal to the poor people.
Okay,
You see, where do Obama children, when he was a president, where did they go to school? It was a government school in Washington, I think. There where they went to school. Because even in the Western world, the government school are 100% good as the private school. And it is education free. You know that.
okay.
Education
Um,
free. They have all the necessity.
okay, let me make my contribution to this particular question. And Poster,
Good for.
I enjoy your comment because you brought up something that I have to comment on, and let me educate you. In your comment, there's no one thing I see that I agree with. When you
Mhm.
say that they should improve the system and provide
Yes,
quality education
education, yeah.
and fight corruption, and
Mm-hmm.
then improve the society in many ways. That I agree with you on. But let me tell you, it is in Liberia where you have poor people school and you have rich people school.
Say in Africa, it's
Yeah.
Africa as
No,
a
no, no,
whole. That's
no.
African
Probably this.
mentality.
Yeah, wait, hold on. I don't want to broaden it because I come from Liberia. There
It's
are some
broad,
African.
even in other African country, it happen. We see the people, it
Yeah,
happen. For
yeah,
honestly,
yeah,
it
yeah.
happen. That's
Some African countries. But since I come from Liberia, I want to limit it to Liberia. And probably
okay.
this brother has not traveled before, or he doesn't, know what happens in other countries. I live in a, like Andre said, I live in a society. When I came to this country in 2000 1999, yeah, 2001. No, no,
Mm-hmm.
no, no, that was 2000 December. I came to Norway. When I came to this country, it took me half of 2001, almost, I don't know, how, maybe the middle of 2001, after half year, before I even knew the prime minister.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, not that I didn't see the guy, I used to see the guy on the TV, but the guy is wearing one jacket, Jeremy, one t shirt.
Working
I mean,
with
on short arm t shirt. And
me,
the guy sitting with the journalist is talking. When I work
yeah.
as journalist in Liberia, Andre, trust me, every Hassan you see all with Neta, we all be Hassan with sweating or something. I came to this country, I saw my fellow journalists. I saw my no boys coming in that jean trousers and t-shirt, and the only time I knew that they were journalists when I see them in the car until I had to stop one of them one day and talk to him. So the point I'm trying to make to this poster is that in this country, in this particular country, the,
Mm-hmm.
the, the king's son went to school. I had a friend when I first came to this country. I had a lady friend. This lady, her son and the king's son went to the same kindergarten school.
Yes.
The king's son, we say nobody else, king's son. And
Mm-hmm.
going to school with my poor friend, I'm talking about this lady. Okay. Then all along in this country, everything is equal.
Yes.
They make everything equal. No, I work in a government system right now. I work in a government system. Everything is equal. Everything is equal. We get something in this country called leak stealing in our language, which means equal position. Everybody is on the same par, down to the king. He respect us, we respect him, but he's a king. The prime minister is there, we respect them, but they know that we are all equal. So they got school for the prime minister children, for the king children. No, everybody go to the same place. That's why they improve. That's why when the poster said they should improve the educational system, because when the educational system is improved, why wouldn't the king, I mean the president's son and the Yapalu's son
Go to
have
the
the same
same
education?
school.
So you
But
see,
when they ready, they come to Yakpauloma and part of vote for them.
yeah,
But when
in
they
fact, yeah.
ready, they say
When they're hungry,
Yakpaulu.
then they go in the market to buy the
Yeah.
food where Yapalu grow. You see,
But when it's time for education, they say Yapaulo children
Yapalu son will
not
not go to that
equal with
school.
them.
So this
That is
poster, I
a
don't know whether
fixed
it's a
system.
lady. I don't know
And
whether
this
this
is
poster
why
is a
we are
lady.
against. We don't care your name call us, you try to denigrate us with all kinds of names, but we will continue to speak the truth until we die. Liberia must
You know,
become
this
better
poster,
and
I
we
think
will live to see that day.
this poster is still adamant. We are not saying that everything is equal. I did not say everything. I'm telling you, the school system, a lot of things, in fact, a lot of things equal here. Okay, I agree. We all do medicine salary. And if
Okay,
you want to make, if you want to make,
when you see the thing,
yeah,
where in the world everything is equal.
yeah,
This is a serial class system in Europe. There is a serious class system in Europe, Linford, and I live
yeah,
in London.
yeah. You live in London. I agree. I was in Southampton as well. I got my education from Southampton. I was in Southampton for 5 years. There is nowhere in the world that, but I will tell you that Europe is also, because the reason why I'm answering to you is that when I say the reason why I gave you Norway as an example is that I live in Norway and I know. Okay, I'm not saying that everywhere in the world.
I think maybe he's talking about
No, he's talking about class
system
system.
of racism or something. Maybe
No,
that's
no,
what
no,
he's
no, no,
talking
no, no.
about.
Let's forget about racism. He's talking about class system. I know what he's driving at. You want to say the from Birmingham Palace, everybody not equal. That's what I want to say. I know that where he's driving.
Okay, there's another. Let me take this one. This other comment. I think it's the same person.
It's
Oh
the same.
yeah.
It's the same.
Okay. He said, don't get me wrong. Advocates are well, but they need to go into detail to help our people understand what their children, their grandchildren going to benefit from the War and Economics Crime Court. We have war lawyers making laws for them. We have criminals as minister. But with the War and Economic Crimes Court, oh, with the War and Economics Crime Court, those people will no more make laws or become your ministers. So we just have to make them understand the benefit and they will make the right decision. Yeah, that's what we are saying. You are
Yeah,
right.
I think he's
That's
agreeing
what
with
we are
us.
saying.
Yeah, he's agreeing with us. But
Sensitization.
yeah, when he says that where in the, because he asked a specific question, say where in the world that poor people and rich. That's why I gave you Norway as an example. Okay,
Yes.
I gave you Norway as an example. We don't have school for poor people or rich people children here. No, we got private schools. But I work in the government, and I'm also a member of the Labour Party here, the Labour Party. So when we go to meeting, we control. There are certain things that cannot happen. My son goes to the government kindergarten, okay, and they got private school. I mean private kindergarten, one private kindergarten in where I live, and we, the government, we regulate how much the private school and the private kindergarten school will pay. Can you imagine that? We regulate. In that then they say we go private school, so we charge. No. The same money my son pay, okay? In the government kindergarten is the same money they pay, because the only difference there is that in the private kindergarten, their workers are more keen. In fact, they don't have many children there, so their workers are more keen. It's like one child to one employee, one child to one employee. That's the only difference I see. But we pay the same money. So today, if I decide, I can take my son from there and carry him to the private school because I'm not going to pay any money. Okay, and so now again, we will work in the government. So now we got like immunities. You can reduce the amount that your child is paying if you apply. Okay, But
Yeah.
the point I'm trying to make to the poster is that in Norway here, I was specific because you asked specific question where in the world. So I told you Norway here, we don't have rich people school, and then they say in the rich man child can go there. No, because the educational system is improved at the same level. So what they teach, the curriculum they teach in the private school is the same one they teach. Even we got private universities here. Okay,
Yeah.
I went to private college here before I went to England. Okay, the private college I went to, I didn't pay money from my pocket. I took money from the government. So even if somebody is going to government school, they'll say go take money from the government. So the government would not be funny enough to make a private school higher than what the government should get. So everything when it comes to education is equal here. Okay, yeah, yes, in Norway, all the schools are of the same standard. Yes, there are a few private schools in Norway, but all of the schools are of the same quality.
Quality.
Yeah, they are all of the same
Yeah.
quality, my brother. Wait, listen to me. I told you earlier on that we got something in the country they call equal rights, equal opportunity. So a
Mm-hmm.
country who is a lady, she must sit on this program, I will give her equal right to talk as much as wants and as much as I want. We do it
Yeah.
equally. I'm not saying woman. So let me know we can't dominate. At my workplace, we got women, we got men. We all equal. We all equal. Nobody is less than the other, nobody is more than the other. We all equal. Okay? Because we believe in our law. And let me tell you one thing we shot in Liberia is we don't obey law.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many Liberian people we got here? A lot of Liberian people here. How many of them can say where they say or can go to World Lake and say, a Liberian man, I know time. You don't try that nonsense.
The Liberian men, when they leave Liberia, they come out and they always find things difficult because they used to that all law system in the country. So once they come on now, it's difficult for them actually. It's difficult for them. They used to no traffic light, nothing, and this and that. So they just
Yeah, but
everything is
trust me, they
just
learn it very fast. They learn it very, very quick. You see,
yeah. But
but
Liberians are quick learners.
yeah.
So
So my
once they
brother,
get out, they adapt quickly.
uh, uh, since Yesenia, I don't know whether it says Yesenia who was writing. She said,
Someone is asking her.
yeah, is
I
it
think
limited
she
to
is also
government or
commenting.
I
But
don't know
the
what
bottom
is it?
line is the
Uh-huh.
bottom line here is Linford.
Mhm.
These people that we are talking about that have everything equal, they have a good educational system, good facility. That's because they have a good leader and their leader
Yes,
love them. Their leaders love them. Their leaders know that once they put these regulations in place, it's going to benefit them and their people. Once their people is benefited, they themselves are benefited. They are not
you
selfish.
struck on a very good point that their leaders love them and their
Yes.
leaders want them to get the best from that. Now, look at let me tell you, Liberia. Norway is a very big, long country. If you look at our map, the upper part
Mhm.
is so narrow because we share the land with Finland. Yeah, a little bit in the north, it's just somewhere
Mhm.
there. We always talk about it when you get there. You're not in Norway, you're not in Sweden, you're not in Finland. You're in the three
Mm.
countries because you put your foot
Wow.
on you stay on the border, so you are in all three countries. And that place,
Oh,
they don't sleep
wow.
there. Yeah, they don't sleep there all night. Because of course in the summer it's day throughout. Nobody can sleep. It's sun shining throughout. So
Hmm.
we normally go there for fun. Okay. So from up there coming down, then we share half of the land with the Atlantic Ocean on the left. Then on the right is Sweden. They get sticking together. Then when you come down, then we become big like this, just like football. So you look at our map. This country is long and unpopulated, full of mountains. Where I
Hmm.
live is mountainous area. The whole city is surrounded by mountain. But our population is the same like Liberia. If you move all of the foreigner, all from here, the people will come down to 2 million people. They are unpopulated.
Hmm.
And the reason why this country is unpopulated are several reasons. One, it's very cold. And two, they were one of the poorest country in Europe.
In
And they
Europe,
have been
oh, yeah.
slaves for Denmark
Hmm.
and Sweden. Denmark will play with them, then they lead them. Sweden can play with them, use them, be fine with them, lead them. That's why even our king today, his origin is from Denmark. His father came from
Denmark.
Denmark. Okay,
Hmm.
now, and these people they were suffering. When they tell you that history, you won't cry. Now, those of you who live in America, if you see The coldest countries in America near Canada border, half of them they are Scandinavian, both from Norway, Sweden. Okay, this country was poor. Norwegian used to war according to that history. They walk and go to other country and try hard to go to America. Because they were escaping something in this country called a Black Death. We have Corona. The Black Death, people, whole family could get wiped out. So people ran away from this country. The country remained empty. Now, they suffer, they suffer, they suffer until finally in the 60s, the early 60s, they found oil. When they found oil, our big brother there from the other side, they always, when you're suffering, they don't country you up, but when they know you'll get something, then they come. So our big brother there came. He said, oh, sorry. He said, oh, your found oil, we can help you to manage the oil for you. Yeah, the people say, but what kind of people will be suffering? And no, it's one thing like they talk about Christopher Colombo then, discovering America a lot, that is Vikings, because they were seafarers. But they didn't colonize anybody because they scared of people, one. They don't want to mess with other people. So people say, but how all of a sudden we'll be suffering? Then you're young yourself, one manage our oil. Okay, you come. So they gave them a contract of managing the oil for up to 4 or 5 years. Then the people say, okay, the thing one like failed to do. The people say, okay, we agree, you're managing our oil. The country is getting better now. People started taking pay. I mean, husbands will take pay and go home. Women were working. So they say, okay, what we want you to do, we want you to help us to show us the technology, what you're doing, how you're managing this thing. So you'll send people to America from here and learn this thing. That was the contract. So some people went and learn how to build rigs and all the kind of things. The oil rigs and all the kind of things. So the people came back. Then the local uncle saying, if they say, you know what happened, you have helped us a lot, but we think your time here is over. I think we can manage it ourselves.
Yes, we already educated our
this cold, mountainous, full of water country, where if you go outside and you call yourself your blood, not because your blood is frozen in your blood, in your body. You think why people here? This country have become, in fact, in 2000, and if I'm not mistaken, 9 or 10 years after, just when the recession hit the world, Norway became the first richest country, even more than in all of Europe. Okay, this country, they are rich. They get the money in the reserve or money that they got. There are people that plenty. They got system for people. Okay, so and this is the only country on earth. Let me say this for the record. This is the only country on earth that got the seeds, the roots, the anything for food that people, anything that human being can eat, they get a seed, they get a root. Somewhere in the north, they dug that tunnel in the mountain, they put it there, they reserve in the coal, because they are thinking that 1,000 years to come, the whole world will crash. There will be no food. Then they will start now supplying other countries with food to plant it. That's a project they own. That's where they invest their money.
For the future.
Yes. So our people, like bro, found oil, what they did, by the time they found oil, quick, they divided all blood, they sold everything. Now we're saying now the oil there, but not for us. See, so management, good government, like you said earlier, that's what I said this to. And this is part of the education.
The leader, we should have a good leader. One leader can make a whole difference in the country. This is why we're fighting to bring Mr. Cummings. Not that we're fighting because of personal interest. No, we are fighting because we know what one man can do or one woman can do. If they are in the proper position, what they can do. That is why. And regards to the oil that you're talking about, Liberia, there's a day that I listened to a young guy who was talking about the oil blacks that was found in Liberia, and they decided that these people should go out to study. And they took them out to study. At the end of the day, they brought in these same young boys who were taken out to study and be able to come back and contribute to see how best Liberians can manage their own oil in their country. They turn around to be the ones who sell our oil. So all of these things is lack of patriotism. The Liberians need to be patriotic, nationalistic. It's not like when if you are nationalistic, then it means that you being so selfish. No, it is good to be nationalistic, to be patriotic, to love your country. When you love something, you protect it with everything that you have. You
Of
protect
course.
it with a passion. But
Of
we
course.
are not, and it is true, and we must say it here. Liberians learn to be nationalistic and love your country, love your culture, love everything about your country, and protect your country for the sake of the future generation. Liberia is finished. Oh, if we cannot get it now, 2023, if we cannot get it right, we'll go back to do the same old mistake. It's going to be a catastrophe because Liberia is going to get in the wrong hand and they are going to rip that country off to nonsense. At the end
Okay.
of the day, before it get back to the right person, we are already doomed. All our
Okay.
resources,
Let's
everything will be
let's
destroyed.
let's try to wind down now. But there is one thing that I want us to talk about, and that is you talk about uh, being nationalistic, and being nationalistic.
Nationalistic, a
Yeah.
patriot, not only the word, but in enduring. Be patriotic, protect your country. Liberia is rich. I listened to Amara Kone, the former finance minister. He
Mhm.
said Liberia is rich under the ground, and he is right because we are rich under the ground. The oil blocks that Liberia has, the oil that we have, huh? If you know the value of that oil, you won't joke with that country. That country is small but very rich, and you just have this few warlords, people who kill our people innocently, destroy our country. They are the ones in their family that are enjoying that country. They are ripping off the country, selling it for nothing because they don't value the country. They don't know the value of it. So they're just looting, destroying it for little of nothing,
Yeah,
giving
but
it out on a
yeah,
platinum of gold to
let's look
people.
at your key warrior, nationalism or being nationalistic. I think that's a key
Nationalistic,
for me.
yeah.
That's a key word. That's a key word for tonight, as we'll be concluding this podcast. That's a
Don't
key word for
forget, we
tonight.
need to play this human rights something. Our
Yeah.
people need to
So
hear
the
it. It's
the
important.
thing the thing I don't understand about our leaders is that uh, most of those people who are our leaders today have lived in the Western world. They have worked there. They have seen everything. Now, I live in Norway here. No matter how long you live in Norway, when they see you, especially colored people like us, they will ask you where you come from.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, where you come from.
Mm-hmm.
You marry
That's,
Norwegian,
that's not
you born children
being,
by
that's
them, they
not
know that
being, yeah.
they're half white and half black. When they see them, they always ask where your father come from. Oh, this your father African or your mother African? The child say my father African. Say where your father come from? Or in fact, ask him where you come from. Because these
Hmm.
people they believe that nobody is like them. They are they are Norwegians.
They are the
Even if you
native.
come from Sweden or Denmark, no men are no, they are not men. Norwegians are Norwegians. Whether you come from Sweden or what, Norwegians are Norwegians. This is how nationalistic these people are, and
Mm-hmm.
they believe in it so much that you cannot take it from them. And some of them live it. I'm telling you. But we Africans, we live in a people country. We live in America. We live everywhere else. When we go back home, we get into a position. We don't value our people. We don't value
Yeah.
our country. We tear our country apart. We do everything
We
to
don't love ourselves. We
we don't
do not
love
love
ourselves.
ourselves.
We
That's
don't
why I
love
say, not when I talk about patriotic and nationalistic, is a definition of love. You love your country, you love your people, your brothers. Love your brothers. Love yourself. Because if you love that man that is next to you, that means you love yourself.
and to bring it down to the bottom line, just before we go to your video, to bring it down to the bottom line.
Yes, I
See, Alexander Cummings, like I said before, this is one man who lived in the Western world. He worked there. I don't know. I don't see what Cummings wants in Liberia. I don't see it because Cummings is retired from Coca-Cola. This guy will not go to a plateau and pick
yes,
company in the world.
already. Yeah.
You will not go to a plateau and pick company in the world. And they will just ask one question: why you work before? What was your
Yeah.
position at Coca-Cola? take one telephone and call. They got to tell you to
You
present
look
CV.
at the main track record. The main
Yeah,
track
do
record
not.
is there.
Or this is a man who decided to go to a mosquito infested country, or country where all the septic tank is broken, or country where you hardly find food to eat. They sell the expired chicken wings all in the street. Your country where all it, I mean,
But that is his country, though. That is his
yeah,
country.
but I mean, the point I'm trying to make is that
Mm.
he forfeited all of this. Something that some of us will not do. You think I will get, my friend? I can even have close to 1 million, not even a million, but close to 1 million. Then I say, I go to Liberia to go waste it and on people who do not appreciate it. I don't go pay my house and live there like king. And we all sit down and see them walking in mud. But this is one man who sacrificed all. And still, other people are there bringing him down. Play a
Yeah.
video. Or before Andre can
That
play
is
the
it.
video.
That is the mentality of our people, and that's why we need to.
Let's just tell the people what the video is about. I haven't
Okay.
watched it. So Andre, you can tell the people what the video is about.
Yeah, we are about to play the International Human Rights Watch report for 2022. That's what we're about to play right now. So
Okay.
you people can listen to it and see what is happening, what is the report.
Yeah, probably the video quality might be bad, but we hope that the
Not
sound
video, but it's a
or
recording.
audio. Okay.
Try to take a look. Send those to us by tweeting at HRW. So just put at HRW in your tweet, send out your question there with that, and we should be able to see it and figure it out from that. Okay, so let's get to the substance of this discussion here. So just a little word about how Human Rights Watch usually works. I mean, normally we are day to day working on detailed investigations of human rights abuses around the world, country by country. We have, our researchers are all over the globe. They're really going into the nitty gritty and collecting the details, talking to witnesses, and so on. And then once a year, at least, we try to take a step back, and Ken Roth, our executive director, tries to take a more global look at the trends in an essay with this world report. So this world report essay this year is called, here's the title, "With Autocrats on the Defensive, Can Democrats Rise to the Occasion?" So I want to take the first part of that first with you, Ken, and ask you, are autocrats really on the defensive today? I mean, I've already seen tweets where some people are saying, well, that sounds a little bit too optimistic.
Well, Andrew, first, thanks for hosting this. I have to say, when I stood back and kind of looked at the world in preparation for writing this year's opening essay, I was actually taken aback by what I saw, because I knew the conventional wisdom. The conventional wisdom was that autocracy is on the rise, democracy is on the decline. But then when I put myself in the shoes of the autocrats, life looks pretty challenging for them. And you see this because there really has been this, foremost, an outpouring of public support for democracy. You see people, taking to the streets, demanding an end to autocratic rule in this, broad range of countries from Myanmar, Thailand, Sudan, Uganda, Russia, Belarus, Poland, Cuba, Nicaragua. Most recently, we've even seen demands for reform in Kazakhstan before it was hijacked by this, power struggle between the current and the former leaders. So, when you look to what the people want, they want democracy. They don't want autocrats. And a new development this past year or so, we've seen the emergence of these interesting broad alliances where the political parties really spanning left to right have little in common other than their desire to oust the corrupt or autocratic leader. And we saw that, succeed in removing Czech Prime Minister Babic. It got rid of Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. I think it's a way to understand the selection of Joe Biden, who was probably nobody's first choice, but was seen as the most successful potential candidate against Donald Trump. And today, these same kind of broad alliances are challenging the ongoing rule of Hungarian Prime Minister Orban and Turkish President Erdogan. And so, in response to this, kind of increasingly visible and effective opposition to autocratic rule, we see autocrats resorting to increasing repression. Traditionally, they might have relied on manipulated elections to preserve power because that's a way of at least gaining some credibility, some legitimacy from an electoral charade. But today, the elections they're holding don't even pretend to be credible. They're zombie elections. And you saw that in Hong Kong, in Nicaragua, Belarus, Russia, Uganda, Iran. And while you could say, oh, this is just, strong men being strong, in fact, these are acts of desperation. Any autocrat would much prefer the legitimacy that comes from even a compromised election. But these autocrats have lost, any prospect of public support. And so they've got to resort to these totally sham elections. So, all of this adds up to a pretty dismal horizon for autocrats. It doesn't mean they're going to disappear tomorrow, but they are definitely pushing against the wind.
And this idea that these actions that autocrats take are really evidence of their weakness, not their strength, as they would have it. Can you take one or two examples of that from the last year that you think probably maybe demonstrates that best?
Well, I think maybe the best example is Myanmar, where it was really just about a year ago there was a military coup, and the traditional wisdom would have you believe that that's the end of the story. The Myanmar military has all the arms, the people don't. They'll just rule. But in fact, there's been this massive outpouring of support for democracy, this huge civil disobedience movement, which has basically shut down the economy. It's even creating kind of alternative hospitals, alternative forms of basic public services. Increasingly, it's turning violent, I'm sad to say. At first it was, big peaceful protests. The army responded by shooting people. They killed over 1,400 protesters. And so today you're seeing, many of those protesters joining the long-term ethnic insurgencies on the periphery of Myanmar. But, essentially the junta has virtually zero support at home. It's facing growing international pressure through the form of sanctions and political ostracization. It's pretty bleak, and there's no end in sight. So, yes, the junta has the guns, but they're being squeezed politically, economically, and there's little to prop them up for the long term. And variations on that theme emerge almost any place where governments resort to sheer force rather than public consent to try to stay in power.
And so, you mentioned with Myanmar the international reaction. So that kind of brings us to the other half of the question that is the title of your essay, and that is, how does the rest of the world rise to the occasion? Most specifically, how do countries that are more democratic or like to think of themselves, leaders that like to think of themselves as democratic leaders, how do they respond? How have they not been responding? What do they need to do? What do we need to see from them in 2022?
Well, even though autocrats are struggling, that's no reason for complacency. We can't have any confidence that democracy is going to prevail if democratic leaders don't do better. It's not enough to just point out the failings of the autocrats. Democracies themselves have to deliver too. And let me stress two things. One is that we are facing enormous global problems today. And whether that's the pandemic or climate change, poverty and inequality, racial injustice, the threats from modern technology, these are big problems. But today's democratic leaders are often, so mired in short-term partisan battles, so handcuffed by complicated coalitions and narrow majorities that they just are not addressing these problems effectively. They are, they're more answerable to their people, they're responsive to the electorate, but they're not rising to the occasion. And I think that democracy just has to deliver better on its promised dividends. And what that's going to require is more visionary leadership of the sort that is required to meet these major problems. And yes, there are constraints, but we're not even seeing the visionary rhetoric, the attempts to pull the public and other political parties along. So that's been a real failing so far, which worries me, because if democratic leaders greed, frustration, and despair, that's going to give the autocrats a second chance. Now, the other element that's worth stressing is that democratic leaders need to be more consistent in their support for democracy and human rights abroad. We're all relieved that we no longer have a president in the White House who is embracing every friendly autocrat under the sun. But Biden's promise of a foreign policy that has human rights central to it just hasn't been fulfilled. Leaving aside China, where there has been an evolution in U.S. policy, most of Biden's foreign policy isn't that different from conventional U.S. foreign policy before Trump. And so we still see the blatant double standards. And the ones that I would highlight in particular are, repressive governments in Egypt, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Israel, the increasingly Hindu nationalist repression of Modi in India. All of these governments are basically getting a buy. Some of them are still getting arms sold to them. Many are getting military support. That is a blatant double standard, a blatant gap in the supposed Western support for democracy that inevitably undermines the credibility of the Western effort and makes it more difficult for Democrats to prevail in this contest with autocracy.
So from the perspective here in Brussels, the EU, and we say this in our World Report, the EU has been very good on words and not so much when it comes to follow through as well. So I would encourage people to look at the individual chapters of our World Report to get more into the detail and to start getting into the detail a little bit more here in this space. I want to turn now to our Deputy Director of our Africa Division, Ida Sawyer. And Ida, if you could sort of start to drill down for us a little bit. Ken's had the global overview, and I want to start looking at sub-Saharan Africa now. And what are we highlighting in Africa in this year's World Report?
Thanks, Andrew, and hi, everyone. I'll focus on two overarching themes that have really stood out in our work on sub-Saharan Africa over the past year. And this includes, first, attacks on civilians and other abuses committed during armed conflicts, and the need for greater efforts to hold those responsible for these abuses to account. And second, the human rights implications of unconstitutional takeovers and other political upheaval that we've seen in numerous country contexts. So first, on armed conflicts, much of our focus has been on Ethiopia, where over 1 year into the conflict that began in the Tigray region, the consequences have been devastating for civilians throughout northern Ethiopia and beyond, and the risks for the broader Horn of Africa region cannot be understated. We've documented how government forces and their allies, including forces from neighboring Eritrea, committed large-scale massacres, widespread sexual violence, forced displacement, indiscriminate shelling, pillage, and attacks in schools and hospitals during the conflict's first 9 months in the Tigray region. Then, from July, as the conflict spread into the Amhara and Afar regions, Tigrayan forces were also implicated in serious abuses, including summary executions against Amhara civilians and alleged rape cases. For over 6 months now, the government has imposed an effective siege on Tigray, blocking virtually all humanitarian aid from reaching the region and preventing millions of people from accessing food, medicine, cash, and fuel. This amounts to clear violations of international humanitarian law, including possibly the war crime of using starvation as a weapon of war. We were encouraged by the UN Human Rights Council's decision in December to deploy an international commission of human rights experts on Ethiopia, which could pave the way for accountability. Now it needs to be set up and start its important work, but much more also needs to be done to put pressure on the Ethiopian government to immediately end the siege on Tigray and to pressure all sides to end the atrocities, especially as reports of airstrikes and forcible displacement of civilians continue. Elsewhere, we've documented horrific attacks on civilians by armed Islamist groups in almost every region of sub-Saharan Africa, from the Sahel and the Lake Chad region to the Democratic Republic of Congo, Somalia, and Mozambique. And in many cases, we've seen how abuses perpetrated by government forces during counterterrorism operations against these groups and near total impunity for past crimes have undermined confidence in the state and fueled recruitment efforts by the armed Islamist groups. In Congo, the government's imposition of military rule to address insecurity in the east has not improved civilian protection. Officers with records of abuse remain in command positions, while attacks on civilians by both armed groups and government forces have continued. And just since the so-called state of siege began last May, over 1,600 civilians were killed in North Kivu and Ituri provinces alone. In each of these contexts, systemic reforms to ensure accountability for serious crimes will be critical for ending the cycles of violence and abuse. So moving to the second theme, the past year has in many ways been bleak for democracy across sub-Saharan Africa. We saw 4 military coups, including in Mali, Chad, Guinea, Sudan. In other countries, incumbents have clung to power through manipulation of the country's constitutions and elections that were neither credible nor fair, such as in Uganda and the Republic of Congo. We've also seen violent repression against activists, protesters, journalists, and the political opposition in numerous other countries, including Burundi, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Eswatini, Rwanda, and Senegal. Yet, despite this negative trend, there were a few glimmers of hope and signals that democracy will prevail in the long term, as Ken alluded to in his global overview. In Zambia, the incumbent president reluctantly relinquished power following his overwhelming defeat in the August election, due in part to a strong electoral observation mission and parallel vote tabulation. Niger saw its first ever democratic transition of power after the former president chose to step down after the end of his second term, although progress there was marred by allegations of election irregularities. Much of the repression that we've seen across the continent, and in some cases the military coups, has been a direct response to bolder, sustained demands from African citizens insisting that their basic rights be respected. We've seen this with Sudan's brave pro-democracy activists who have proven their resilience. They were the force that led to al-Bashir's ouster in 2019, and despite the recent coup and defiance of the transition's military leaders, the activists are still on the streets and they're not giving up. We've also seen this through the work of Congolese whistleblowers and anti-corruption activists.
So that's the report on. I don't know if Linford you want to leave, then I can just continue for the people to.
Yeah, actually, it's an interesting thing. I listened to that interview and I pick up a few things. I think one of the things that the world is struggling with right now is the threat on democracy. And you heard several countries being named where the democratic system is coming under attack, where aristocrats, where the dictators are trying to raise their heads, and this is not something new though. We've always had dictators. I think from time immemorial, from the creation of the world, we've always had dictators. But the most disturbing thing is that the fight against these dictators sometimes becomes bloody. It becomes very fatal.
The innocent citizen that try to stand up against them,
and then this fight seems not to just be gaining ground. So this is where my thing is. How do we see how do we see any success? Because it's one thing to fight, and it's one thing to fight for a just cause and to fight to see an end to what you're fighting for. It's like I know I cannot dry the ocean, but I go and try to dip the ocean with pen and throw it out so that I can dry this ocean. It's not going to happen. Even though I'm doing it, but it's not going to happen. So I've got to ask myself, what am I achieving? So this fight against him, I'm not saying that they should stop it, but is it succeeding? What do you think?
I think
definitely
it is one way or the other. It is succeeding, but at the detriment of innocent lives, because these are people who are unarmed and they cannot fight against those that have the so at the end of the day, before you have a successful protest against injustice or against a tyrant government, the life of innocent civilian is gone. Even innocent children that is, you know, vulnerable, that cannot fight for themselves or anything, they died. So I don't know what the UN is doing, but it's a very serious thing. As I think that immediately the people or the citizens start to complain about an detective government, I think they should get in and start to see how best they can protect the citizens instead of allowing things to escalate and allowing these cold-blooded dictators to kill innocent civilians and children. So
Yeah,
that's very
it may make sense to think that way, that the United Nations or the powerful countries, in fact, even if you look at the
can
United
come in
Nations,
immediately.
yeah,
Yeah,
but if you talk about the United Nations itself, it does not practice democracy. You know
yeah.
that the United Nations, they say United Nations, they didn't say selected nation, they didn't say some nation, they said United Nations. Okay, it should include all member countries, all countries that want to become a member, or all
Mm-hmm.
nations in the world united
Mm-hmm.
together. And in these United Nations, and they got only 5 countries that got power more than the other people. The other people can never be. So there's no democracy anywhere, you know. And somebody will say, oh, because in every organization you must have leaders.
Indeed,
But what
indeed.
kind of leadership? What kind of leadership in the UN that cannot circulate? African countries are members of the UN, so they only got 5 permanent members. Okay, that made law that decide everything for the other countries, and they will never say, okay, these 5 people, your term is over, your move. Let Liberia, Guinea, and Sierra Leone then come, and no.
But
So
where is Liberia,
democracy
Guinea, and
anywhere.
Sierra Leone contribution? Then Liberia and Guinea and Sierra Leone, they should improve their country so that
No,
they
it does.
can be able to sit
It's
on
not about
the.
improvement. If we talk about democracy, you see, it's the same imperialist idea that
Mm,
people who are rich should always lead. Some of them, they don't make good decisions. Okay, so you got China, Great Britain, and the few Russia, the 5 countries that make up the permanent members of the UN. You know, they decide for the rest of the people. So it means that the other people, they don't know anything, or they are not capable. And then what make us united? So there's, for me, in my view, it's just my personal view. There is no nothing like democracy in the UN. It's about, again, we look
For
up to
me,
them.
I think that the entire world is not fair. It's not a
Of
fair
course,
place
there
that
is
is
no, yeah,
because
there is,
sometimes you look at something that they preach, they don't practice what they preach. They
yeah,
preach
yeah,
it,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's not in actual sense. It's not what they do. So, yeah, and you can never know except you have the opportunity to get
When
out
it
and
when it
live
comes to
and
when
live
it comes to power,
everybody.
yeah, when it comes to power,
Yeah,
okay, it's very hard to have that balance, because people will not want to share power. People, you and myself cannot have the same power on this show. Then it's like, if we have the same power, then we will not find way out. I'm using this show as an example because at least we are only two. But
yeah.
take for example, where you got thousands of people, thousands in the whole world come together. So they know there must be somebody who is powerful. So that is power. They don't want. They are the
Their
power focus.
superpower is America, eh?
So they decide. So, but again, when you say that the UN or other powerful countries should step into those countries that dictators are rising to put the situation under control, then it brings me back to question again. Uh, we got something called uh, independence that all
Mhm.
countries in the world have fought for. Everybody want to be independent. You want to be on their own. It's like we that got children. Children in this country, when they reach 18 years, they want to be independent. You
Yeah.
can't do nothing. When they go outside and they have boyfriend or girlfriend, you can't go there. You say, oh, no, 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 you can't do nothing. So those
Mhm.
countries like Liberia and all the other countries, we are independent. though we are members of the UN, but we are independent. So our decision, the UN does not come to select our candidates for election and say, okay, vote for Coming, vote for Bwaka. No, we decide, right? Then
Mhm.
our same leader, then we elect. When they start turning against us, then we run to the UN. So the UN can say, look, gentlemen, you go by. That you people know the people who don't know them. You the one elected them. You see it?
Mhm.
So it's, I mean, let's talk so and talk so. Sometimes we put these organizations in serious condition that they cannot have way out, in more at least we put an institution that they can handle. Because we elect our own dictators, then
Mhm.
something will start running to the people. You come, oh, the man we
You
elected,
can't help us. So how will they help you in your own domestic affair?
you
How will
look
they
for your
come and
trouble.
help you?
So,
Yeah,
but
because
I
there
think
are
what
rules.
we'll do, Andre, with that report, is very fresh, it's timely. I mean, it's untimely, meaning that it can be used.
Yeah.
Where we stop, you kill it from there again. The next time we come on the show, not tomorrow, we got tomorrow is not our show. The next time we
Mhm.
come on the show, probably we'll see some things and look for key things about Africa where they talk about. I've not listened to it myself. Look for
Yeah,
places where
they talk about the ladies stress on where incumbents use their power in order to steal elections,
yes, that part
especially in the
try to kill it
Sahara
there.
Africa.
Yeah,
Mhm.
try to next time we come on the show on Tuesday, try to kill it there. We'll continue from there.
And at
And
the end of the day,
yeah,
that's lead to uprising. And she made mention of Guinea, Mali, where you have the military taking over the country. So
mhm.
they are looking at that keenly, that the incumbent should allow the rule of law, let democratic take its course, and let the people vote for who they want, whether if it is
That's a
them
good
or not.
message. That's a
Yeah.
good message for our leader, our current
Mhm.
government in Liberia.
That's for Liberia, for
Yeah,
we are.
that's what we want to use next
The
report.
thing is, Linford, the reason why I decided for us to play this thing is that
Mm,
normally we have all of they called Gambia, they call others things. Normally, there are human rights watch within Liberia. These are journalists who give out information with regards to human rights violations, but there's no report on them. There is no report. Is it that the journalists within Liberia are being totally compromised by the Liberian government?
yeah,
So
but
they have kept silence all of the
we
things
can
that is
pass
happening.
we can pass that judgment probably. I don't know, but probably there is nothing. They don't see anything because I don't know
How
the
will you
test.
say they don't see anything? We see our newspaper, we see
Yeah, I
Facebook
see. We saw
posts,
we saw human rights. I mean, what you call that? We saw auditors being killed and all
auditors
this kind of
being killed.
yeah. But
Three grown-up boys got missing. And the same Solicitor General we're talking about today was in a recording where he's involved in ritualistic killing of innocent virgins.
mhm. Yeah, but
So
these are
there's a
things.
lot of human rights violations in our country, and these journalists are not reporting anything. And journalists are most essential to every country towards the democracy of a country. You see what happened in America, right? It was a journalist, or entire media, CNN, they never rest. 4 years they
Yeah,
were
but
on the case.
like we said, we are not in a position on the show to judge people, but we can only raise the issue ourselves. We can only
This is the bottom line. We go
yeah,
in the bottom line.
we can go to the bottom, but we don't judge.
Bottom line.
We explain to the people. We tell the
Yeah,
people
we
why.
are asking the question why? Why this information are not getting out? But we have our other neighboring country and African countries, they are giving out their report. Why Liberia is not included?
Yeah, that's a good question. But again, we cannot already say that probably the journalists in Liberia have been bought or have been compromised because I mean they've been writing some good headlines
No,
though.
it's a question, but the issue of reporting is only within the country nationally. It's not going out. And how can the people out, the international community help the country.
Yeah.
Except for us who come on the media and who have direct contact with these people. When we do our posts, we tag them in it and they see it directly and say, this is what is going on. And they start to monitor. They start to put eyes. They start to call those international delegates that are within the country. Oh, you see, this is happening and stuff like. But these journalists, they need to do their work. Please, we are asking why.
Yeah, and so I think we raise a red flag, and people might just start doing that work. The thing here is that it's one thing to say, "Oh, Andre, go and bring that water for me to do," and then it's one thing for Andre to do it. So, but at least it didn't mean that if Andre doesn't do it didn't mean that I didn't tell Andre. So that's it. We can like you said.
It brings us back to patriotism.
Yeah.
So the same word we're talking about, being patriotic, no matter what.
Well, we've been here over 2 hours now, and so
I know, in 2 hours.
Yeah,
wow.
You don't want to. When the topic is interesting, you don't want to leave. But we don't want to also bog down our viewers, because I noticed our viewership dropped because the people tired, and a lot of people got work to do. And the problem with our show is that when it comes on, it's in a day, or almost the rush hour in America between 3, 4, 5. So we have a lot of people, and then at this time, a lot of people also try to go to bed in Liberia. So we are caught in between. But the reason why we chose this time is convenient also for us, the presenters, because we just say, well, we want for people to watch us from America, so let's start 1 o'clock in the day, 1 o'clock at the time we're working too, So, but at least we got people watching, and afterwards,
today we went very, very long.
Yeah, so we encourage you to share the video. If you watch it, we encourage you to share it. You can go to our YouTube page, and you can also go to our Facebook page, and you will see the video, and you will have enough time to watch it. Andre, any final thing, because we'll be closing now.
We said it all, my dear. So it's a good night from my end. Okay. I didn't even know we took almost 2 hours. Good night.
Not almost. We went 2 hours.
And thanks to all our viewers and listeners.
Yeah, you guys are fantastic. Our viewers are really fantastic, and we enjoy the comments too, right?
Yeah, the comments were brilliant.
they were right on time.
We hope to see you guys in next.
When is it? Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Tuesday next week, 8 o'clock Central European time. That will be 7 o'clock GMT in Liberia or in Great Britain. And in America, I think 8 o'clock is going to be like 8. It's going to be between 1 and 2. Okay, so if you have the opportunity, you can join us.
2 or 1, I think.
Yeah, we saw a couple of people from America here. Let me just acknowledge that Yasinipe was here, and I think a few other people. So we say thanks a lot for watching. And tomorrow, don't forget, tomorrow is going to be, all of you ANC sympathizers, tomorrow is going to be the ANC night. And on tomorrow's night is going to be all discussions about what? ANC, all these things. So don't miss it tomorrow. The same time, 8 o'clock Central European time, 7 o'clock GMT. We catch you tomorrow on the dot.
So bye and good night from my end.
Okay.
Thanks, Linford. Thanks for the show today. You did very well.
You too.
Okay. Bye.
Yeah.
Good night.
Bye.